Okay, so I'm just going to review sections 4.1 to 4.3 so that we're ready for a quiz. And if I look on page, this is on page 204, and I look first at question number 6. Question number 6 says, has these three functions here. F at x equals x minus 7 all squared minus 25. It has f at x equals x squared minus 14x plus 24, and it has f at x is equal to x minus 12 times x minus 2. Okay? And so it asks us in question number 6, it says, the same quadratic function f at x can be expressed in 3 different forms. What information about the parabola does each form provide? Well, it's very important that we know which form this is in. This obviously is in vertex form. And in vertex form, it definitely provides us with the fact that the vertex is 7, negative 25. Not negative 7, negative 25, it's 7, negative 25. And it also tells us that it opens up. So it definitely tells us an important point, which is the vertex. And so if it opens up, that means that there's a minimum. It's a minimum of negative 25. Okay? So you definitely can tell me that from vertex form. From this form, which is standard form, the only thing you can tell me here is that first my a value is positive, so it definitely opens up. And then you can tell me that the y-intercept, not the x-intercept, the y-intercept is positive 24. That's where it crosses the y-axis. If it wanted you to come up with the equation of the axis, you could come up with the equation of the axis of symmetry by using x equals negative b over 2a. And you can come up with the middle, of course. But right now, that's all it tells you. This is obviously in factored form. Okay, so this is factored form. And factored form lets you know what the x-intercepts are. X minus 12, when that's equal to 0, that means x is equal to 12. And x minus 2, when that is equal to 0, that means x equals 2. It gives you the x-intercepts. Okay, and it also tells you if it opens up or down. It opens up because your a value is 1. Okay, you could definitely come up with the equation of the axis of symmetry as well, because the axis of symmetry is right in the middle of these two numbers. Add them together is 14, divided by 2 is 7. So you can definitely come up with the equation of the axis of symmetry as well. So you have to know the 3 forms, and you definitely have to know what the 3 forms tell you. Okay. Now let's take a look at question number 8. It says, write the equation of a quadratic function first in vertex form and then in standard form. So it's telling you that the vertex is 3, 5. This is for question 8b. Tells you the vertex is 3, 5 and passes through the point 1, 1. Okay? So how do you come up with an equation where the vertex is that and it passes through 1, 1? Mind you, it doesn't have to give you this information like this. It could draw a picture for you and you come up with the same thing. So the vertex is 3, 5. Well, we know that an equation in vertex form is given like this for parabola in vertex form. We know that the vertex is always hk. Okay, so we can write down y equals a, x minus my h is 3, squared plus k is 5. So this is pretty much the equation of my parabola, but I need to figure out what a is equal to. How do I figure out what a is equal to? Well, I need another point on the graph. They already give me another point on the graph. When x is 1, y is 1. So I'm going to plug in y is equal to 1, and I'm also going to plug in x is equal to 1, and I'm going to figure out what a is equal to. So this will be 1 equals a. 1 minus 3 is negative 2, all squared plus 5. So I have 1 is equal to a times negative 2 all squared is 4, so I'll just write that in front, 4a plus 5. So I end up with 1, and if I bring the 5 over, minus 5 is equal to 4a. Or I get negative 4 is equal to 4a. And if I divide both sides by 4, I get that a is equal to negative 1. So my final equation should be y is equal to negative 1 x minus 3 all squared plus 5. Now, of course, we don't have to write the negative 1 out in front. We could just write negative and this here. So this is the formula in vertex form. Okay, so that's the equation in vertex form. Now, if we want this in standard form, we have to remember to expand this. Expand it so it's ax squared plus bx equals, plus c equals y. So I'm going to leave this negative out in front because you cannot multiply the negative in here due to the square. You have to first square that. Okay, so I'm going to leave all this the same. Remember that a binomial squared ends up being a perfect square trinomial. You either know the shortcut or you don't. If you don't know the shortcut, do x minus 3 times another bracket of x minus 3. If you do know the shortcut, the first term will be x squared. The last term will be negative 3 squared, which is positive 9. But the middle term will be negative 3 times x, which is negative 3x, double it, and that will be negative 6x. So if you know that trick, fine. If you don't, multiply this by itself. So write that twice and multiply it. Next thing you're going to do is multiply the negative in here, expand the negative, so this is going to be negative x squared plus 6x, and then positive 9 will be negative 9 plus 5. So the final answer will be negative x squared plus 6x, and negative 9 plus 5 is, negative 4. So this is in standard form. Okay? So very important you understand how to come up with these things, vertex form and standard form. Okay, let's move on to question number 10. Okay, on the same section here. So I'm going to look at question number 10. And question number 10 asks us, it says that the path of a ball is modeled by the quadratic function, and then it gives us h at t. So it says h at t is equal to negative 5 t minus 2 all squared plus 23. Okay, so this is the function, and it says where h at t is the height, okay, in meters, time is in seconds. It says, what is the maximum height that the ball reaches? Well, you know that this thing opens down because a is negative, so you know there's a max. The maximum is always the value at the end, your k. It's a max of 23 meters. Okay, so you should know that just by reading that, because you know that the vertex of this thing is 23. Okay, so at time 2 seconds, the maximum height is 23. Okay, it says B. When does it reach the maximum height? It reaches the maximum height at 2 seconds. And C, when will the ball reach a height of 18 meters? Well, how do you figure when the ball will reach a height of 18 meters? Well, you're going to have to plug that into the formula. Now, the formula has this, and if I want to know what time the height will be 18 meters, I have to plug in height is equal to 18. So height is equal to 18. Remember, that's not height times time, that's height as a function of time. So height is equal to 18 minus 5 t minus 2 squared plus 23. And I have to solve this. Now, how do I solve this? Well, I'm going to solve this algebraically, because algebraically I can isolate for t. So I'm going to bring the 23 over to this side. So this will be 18 and minus 23 is equal to negative 5 t minus 2 all squared. Continuing this is going to be negative 5 t minus 2 all squared, and 18 minus 23 is negative 5. I'm just going to rewrite this. Negative 5 is equal to negative 5 t minus 2 all squared. Now, in order to get rid of this 5 here, this negative 5 times this, so I can divide both sides by this negative 5. Okay, and so I will get t minus 2 all squared is equal to that divided by that is positive 1. Continuing this up here, I have, in order to get rid of this square now, I should take the square root of both sides. So I'm taking the square root of both sides. And so taking the square root gets rid of the 2, gets rid of the square. So this t minus 2 is equal to. Now, it's very important that you understand what the square root of 1 is. If I asked you the square root of 1, you would tell me 1. Why? Because 1 times itself is 1. But the square root of 1 is not just positive 1. It's also negative 1. Why? Because negative 1 times negative 1 is also 1. So square root of 1 is plus or minus 1. That's why you have a plus or minus sign in front of the quadratic equation part where there's a radical or a square root sign. So continuing this is t is equal to plus or minus 1, and if I bring this 2 over, it's going to be plus 2. So now I'm going to break this up into two different answers. I have t is equal to positive 1 plus 2, or I have t is equal to negative 1 plus 2. Okay? And if I have t is positive 1 plus 2, time is 3, or time is that plus that is 1. So there are actually two instances that the height will be 18 meters. Okay? Remember, this is the path of a ball. Okay, so the ball was struck or hit or whatever it is. It hits the maximum height of 23. So on the way up, at 1 second, it hits the height of 18. It goes higher to 23. And then on the way down, at 3 seconds, it hits a height of 18 as well. Okay, so it's very important you understand that. So let's look at number 12. Number 12 says, a quadratic function has zeros, so it has zeros of, and then it's telling me 1 and negative 3, okay? And it passes through 2, 10, okay? So it has zeros of 1 and negative 3 and passes through 2, 10. Write the equation in vertex form. So if you take a look at this, this is not giving you a setup for vertex form. What this is telling you, it's telling you the x-intercepts. This is giving you this information. Remember what we spoke at the beginning when we spoke about what form it's in. This is leading you to put it into this form, x minus the first x-intercept and x minus the second x-intercept. So I'm going to put it in this form first, then expand it so it's in standard form, then I'll put it into vertex form. That's what I'll do. Or there may be another way that we can put it into vertex form. So if I plug in the zeros of 1 and negative 3, this is y equals a, x minus the first x-intercept is 1, and x minus the second x-intercept is negative 3. So this is y equals a, x minus 1, and x plus 3. This is the formula, almost. It's missing your a value. So I have to figure out my a value. Well, I need another point in order to figure out my a value. It tells me another point. It tells me when x is 2, y is 10. So I'm going to plug that in here, and this is 10 is equal to a, x is 2 minus 1, and x is 2 plus 3. So continuing this is 10 equals a, 2 minus 1 is 1, and 2 plus 3 is 5. So this is 10 is equal to 5a. Divide both sides by 5, and I get that a is equal to 2. So my equation is y equals, over here, a, x minus 1, x plus 3. And this is my formula, not in vertex form, but in x-intercept form. Now,